Welcome back into the channel, parking fans. In today's video, we're going to see an HOA go insane over parking rules and the consequences that some of these homeowners are facing. Yeah, welcome back in, everybody. Thanks for joining me here on this 16th of April, 2024, possibly the 17th when I put this up. HOAs are infuriating to a lot of people. I, in fact, live in an HOA that's amazing. Our HOA fee is very cheap, only $70 a month, and it includes our high-speed internet and our cable with extra premium channels. Plus, we get the upside of our neighborhood being worth quite a bit of money because of this HOA and being very desirable, and they don't mess with us. However, there are some HOAs that I know overstep their boundaries. They go crazy, and in today's video, we're going to see one of those examples. Oh boy, let's jump into it.
Neighborhood parking restriction has homeowners pumping their brakes against their HOA. We're talking about the Shadow Glen neighborhood in Manor, where homeowners were given citations for parking in front of their own homes. Tonight, KXAN's Omar Lewis has their story and breaks down your rights when it comes to HOAs in Texas.
I shouldn't have to call the HOA every time I have a scheduled or unscheduled guest. I shouldn't be harassed or live in fear that somebody's parking out in front of my house.
Allison Lopez is doing everything she can to reverse her neighborhood's parking restrictions after receiving a citation with a picture of her own car parked in front of her home.
If they don't want people to park in the street, where else? There is not one designated area in this entire community for people to park.
Folks who live in this neighborhood say they've collected fines and citations that now add up to more than $500 for having people park in front of their homes. And that includes getting fined for having the maids come over to clean up.
$500. Welcome home.
The neighborhood covenants say cars should only be parked in garages, driveways, or appropriate designated spaces. While it doesn't mention the street, neighbors quickly found out they were still in violation. We contacted the neighborhood developer, SunCal. In an email, they tell us the restrictions are in place for safety and crime prevention. And even though the road is county property, homeowners are now bound by the HOA's agreement they signed. In a statement to KXAN, they say in part the statutes do not in general prohibit parking in public streets, but parties may and commonly do contract for agreements over and above those statutes, including through neighborhood restrictive covenants.
So let me pause it right there. I'll let the video finish, but that's true. HOAs sometimes contact the government. Ours has. I'll explain at the end of the video. And they get agreements with the county so that even though it's public rules and public streets, that the HOA bylaws actually apply, even though it's a public street. I'll explain more at the end. Let's keep going.
It's a situation HOA lawyer Greg Cagle sees all the time.
And that is the most efficient and quickest way to resolve disputes.
It's why he recommends homeowners ask as many questions as possible beforehand. He says homeowners should keep in mind that it is a legally binding agreement, and one of their last steps against an HOA should be legal action. Instead, contacting the HOA board made up of your own neighbors will provide homeowners with quicker, cheaper, and faster results.
They have to provide you written notice of the violation, and they also have to inform you that you are entitled to request a hearing in front of the board of directors.
SunCal tells us they're now working to put together a survey to gauge the opinions of neighbors, and they will take further actions after that. In the meantime, Lopez has taken matters into her own hands and started a petition, while other neighbors have resorted to even more drastic measures. Ernestine Galindo and her elderly husband sold their truck after receiving several citations from the HOA, her way of putting the situation to rest once and for all.
You know, you come to a point to where you just have to make the decision to sell it. There's not anything else you can do. You can't park it on top of the roof.
Omar Lewis, KXAN News.
Well, we get calls and complaints about issues with different homeowners associations, and there are a lot because in Texas we have over 30,000 HOAs. But while other states have active state agencies to oversee and hear disputes between homeowners and the HOAs, that does not exist here in the state of Texas. And that's why resolving your dispute through open communication is best, because otherwise you have to go to court to get the issue taken care of. A neighbor...
Okay, so fantastic points made all the way around. In Texas, I didn't know that they didn't have a way to dispute it. In Florida here, they have 30,000 HOAs. We probably have 300,000 HOAs. It's hard to buy a piece of property in Florida in a neighborhood without an HOA. It's just the way it is. It's how they keep up the neighborhoods from going to trash. Older neighborhoods, sure, but not newer neighborhoods if you're buying a newer house. So my neighborhood's a few years old. I've lived here for a few years. HOA is fantastic. It keeps up the value. our house and our neighborhood is way above value for this area. Even though our area has been soaring, we're even higher than that, and I appreciate that. The HOA has very few rules in our neighborhood. They're very easy, and they don't really go after anybody unless you're blatantly breaking them. I know that's not the case everywhere. This HOA had a rule that you can't park in the street. We have a rule that you can't park in the street overnight. During the day, it's fine. Overnight, it's not. Which is kind of weird because during the day is when everybody's going in and out. You should be able to park there overnight when no one's trying to weave through, and during the day not park there. It's kind of ass backwards to me. But anyhow, that's the rule. We have a couple of guest parking spots. We have driveways. We have garages. If you can't park there, they don't really go after. They'll kind of warn you here and there. You move the car a few days, go back. It's whatever, right? I haven't had any issues, none that I've heard of my neighbors, but you sign a contract when you buy a house in an HOA that says you abide by those rules. If you sign those rules, you sign that contract with those rules, and then you want to go against it, that's your own fault. You did it to yourself. Don't move into that neighborhood. You guys have a choice. You don't have to live in an HOA neighborhood. Even though there's so many of them here in Florida, there are plenty of options to live elsewhere. There are neighborhoods that don't have CDDs, which are community development disbursement, and HOAs. There's plenty of them that you can find, as many as we have. So you have a choice. The minute you sign it, that trumps everything. You've signed that contract and they can come for you. It's the good with the bad, right? Also, the public county or city or state roads that run through your neighborhoods or on the main roads, those can be covered by HOA rules and policies, and that's how they trump the law there. They get the government to agree to it, they put the covenant and the statutes in place, and then no other county statutes, like the county, people will say, oh, the county doesn't have a rule against parking on the street. Well, no, they don't, but the HOA does, and the county agreed to go by the HOA rules. So just something to keep in mind. I know there's going to be a lot of comments. People hate HOAs. People have a huge, despicable thought of HOAs. There are plenty of terrible HOAs. I agree with you guys. There's horrible ones, but there are also really good ones. And that's why I did my research when I moved into this neighborhood. Everybody loves it. I found out the rules. I knew what I was signing when I signed it. And if I have a problem with it, that's my problem and my fault. I'll have to deal with later. But so far, 3 years, nothing but good things to say about it, including my cable and internet for $70 a month as part of my HOA fee. So with that, enjoy the video, guys. Appreciate you watching. Hit the like button. As always, subscribe to the channel. Don't miss future content videos. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, comment section belongs to you guys down below. Love to hear what you have to think about HOAs.